Hello, I'm Ninja Unicorn, and this is gonna be the VOD review that I offered to you, Carta X. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. I'm so sorry. But yeah, so like I said, I originally had watched it a little bit at work, just really fast, and then I did a whole hour and I think a half review, talking through everything I was thinking, and then I realized listening back I had no audio either from the game nor from myself. So that was really interesting to experience at 3 in the morning. But we're back. I woke up. It's 12 p.m. right now. So hopefully this goes better. I'm double checking to make sure I'm catching audio, which I am. And really, what we're going to go over today is instead of trying to go over specific tactics that I think you would think like to talk about in this game, I apologize. I want to talk about base mechanics that we should really be working on first because in order to pull off those really cool plays that you see, like wow, he really out tricked the opponent, you have to have strong fundamentals for them to work well in the first place. So we're gonna start the video now, and I'll be pausing quite a bit, and when I pause, I'm just gonna be explaining what I'm seeing, what we can improve on, and some stuff that are really good because there was some stuff that I was actually really impressed to see. So let's start with this, okay? So first thing, let's talk about the inventory. With this level 1 backpack, I think it's pretty good. I would change a few things. So remember, we have very limited slots, and right now you have 2 stacks of shotgun ammo, we have 3 stacks of light ammo, a Phoenix kit, 2 batteries, 2 cells, a med kit, 4 syringes, and 2 grenades. So far this inventory, pretty good. What I would like to switch out personally would be another stack of light ammo and one more stack of shields, either batteries or cells. And the reason for this is if we get into a longer fight, you're not one single fight in the early game, you're not gonna need 32 shotgun ammo, and you're not gonna 2 grenades takes up a lot of slots. It's more likely that I'll have a long fight which goes through a lot of this light ammo, and we need as much light ammo as we can accrue because if the enemy doesn't have any, then we might be in a little tough situation, and you'll see what I mean by that later. So, personally, I would like to take out one of these grenades and one of these shotgun cells, and or sorry, shotgun cells, shotgun shells, and then replace that with more shields and more light ammo. Overall, this is pretty good. Another thing I will notice there is the menu cursor speed. It seems like it's on the slowest that it can be, which we really want to change because later on I'll be talking about things like armor swaps, which I'll get more into depth to, and grabbing looting fast. But in general, when your cursor speed is super low, you have to wait for the cursor to get all the way where you want it to before you can do anything. So if we go into the I believe controller options, and we go into gameplay, control options, you'll see a option called menu cursor speed. And at the end of the video, I'm gonna go over a lot of these things and just try to show, hey, this is what I meant. But for now, I'm just gonna stick with the video. Right, we should increase that. Therefore, you can move around a lot faster, and that you spend less time standing still. Another thing I talked about in my last recording was standing still in the open and looking at the inventory. Now, the two things that I had problem with here was, and if I say problem, it's just things I wouldn't want to see again because they're even if it works out here in another situation, it could be potentially dangerous. So, staying out in the open and looking at inventory here is kind of risky because when when you're looking at your inventory, you are standing still, and that's a very easy target if a sniper just happens to see you and take a crack at you with a longbow, a triple take, and just takes you out before you can even do anything. So, one, if you're gonna check your inventory while standing still, maybe let's make sure we get inside or behind cover where it's gonna be much harder for people to get free shots onto you. The second thing is that what most controller players don't know is that you can look at your inventory while moving. If you simply hold the left analog forward and then you press start, you could still be running and have that inventory open. That way, it's better than standing still and looking at it, even if you're just running in without any trickiness. So that's enough for the inventory. Let's continue the video. So right over there, I want to talk about looting a little bit more. In the beginning, we talked about our. So in the beginning, I noticed that you kind of looked at the items. You sit there, look at them for a good second, and then decide if you need them or not. Really, you don't want to be thinking too much of whether you need it or not. This is something you kind of want to build into your brain of what you're looking to grab, and just spamming square to loot. So what's really cool about this is that if you just simply press square, like tap square, when you go to loot, if you have room for it and you can take it, it'll just automatically take it. Rather, whether it's the whole stack of the item, or if it's just if you have room for part of it but not all of it, it'll automatically do that for you, and you don't have to stop and look at your inventory to do so. Um, the second thing is you want to know what you're looking for in general. Now, meds and shields you can kind of get away with just spamming, but let's talk about like maybe ammo for instance. Um, you know your loadout of light ammo and shotgun ammo. You don't really need shotgun ammo because 32 is actually quite a lot of shotgun ammo already, and that should be the most you should be really carrying for any shotgun. However, light ammo, you're looking for a lot of that. So whenever you just see light ammo, just tap square. If you realize, hey, I want another stack, that's when you hold and you can adjust in your inventory. But just running by, look at it, tap square. It's a really good habit to get into. It helps you loot a lot faster rather than standing still and thinking about what you're doing. And in this case, it would have really helped you because you could have got 2 more shield cells just for free. You could have maybe then swapped out one of those grenades for more cells. So, right away, this is the first fight that we're about to get into. You heard a caustic trap, and you see caustic right at the corner here, but obviously, in real time, this is inhumanly impossible to see. But let's talk about right at the start. So, we heard the caustic trap actually right before. We heard it right around here. So instantly, our focus, as soon as we hear that trap, should not to be look to the right, but to look at that trap, because that's most likely where the caustic is standing. Most caustics are not gonna throw from way afar. They're gonna throw right in front of them to block that door. So go see that caustic trap, and we make the correct decision of destroying the trap. However, it takes quite a long time. Like you kind of had to like be like, okay, I'm aiming left and down. Want to cut that time into, instead of curving it slowly, want to be able to kind of be able to flick it into a bam. Okay, down here, and that's just a matter of practicing your sensitivity and knowing how to adjust that distance quickly. And the way you can do that is by going into the firing range. Firing range is going to be one of your best friends and the best way to practice any of these mechanic side of things that I'm talking about. Like I said, I'm going to show you at the end of the video what I'm talking about the mechanical side of things. However, firing range, I usually go anywhere from 10 to maybe 20 minutes even just practicing my mechanics in there. And really, it's really helpful because um one, it's a great warm up, and it helps me, like, warms up my fingers. It helps me make sure I'm remembering correctly how to control that recoil, and really gives me the not the um authentic fight experience, but it does give me that mechanical readiness, so that once I get into real fights, instead of dying off the rip and then having to queue up and then slowly getting to another fight, I would have practiced my gun in a simulation of 20 fights or more. So this is really good, and that's what I recommend, so that you can shoot that trap out much more quickly. And that's important because if Caustic shot the top of the trap before you got to shoot the bottom of it, he could have created a very hard situation for you because you couldn't have pushed through there and it would have blocked line of sight and you guys would have been kind of trapped in here. And you could have trapped the other two doors and made it so that you guys are forced into this little spot or have to give up this position that you guys have right now. Anyways, he doesn't do that. And we get our first shot. We actually get some nice shots. We actually even trap him in that situation. And that's a really good play. You get some decent shots. Once again, recoil control was a little lacking there. You kind of got swung off by the side. It seems more so that you're aiming straight down rather than following the recoil pattern. And a lot of this is a mistake I see from a lot of controller players is because, aim assist kind of like in the average player's experience, most gun games they play, the gun simply just goes straight up. However, that's not how most recoil works. There's actually a little, especially in this game, there's variance of left. There's a high variance of left and right control, and being able to know how to control that is gonna make you hit so many more shots. Now, the R301 is very kind to most players because holding just straight up actually hits quite a bit of shots compared to most guns. So I guess this is why many new players gravitate towards the R301. However, even high-end players, when you master this recoil, makes this gun feel like a laser beam. So we're going to continue here. Get a few shots. Get flank cover. And now looking back at this, I see why you crouch because, it's just kind of reactive of I took shots. However, once we crouch once, we don't need to be standing here crouching anymore. So, and the reason is that all this is really gonna do is make you slower. At worst, you have to get up as soon as you see them, and then that's gonna take more time before you can get behind cover again if you need to. So, stay crouch, get some nice shots, and we notice he doesn't do anything. You get a nice 50 of flesh damage on him. Flesh meaning that he has no more shields, and you're hitting the actual HP bar. So, right here, this is why I was kind of scared of you being in crouch, is because now he's starting to take shots at you, you're in a crouch position, which means getting to that right, behind cover, is going to be a lot harder, and while you don't get punched much in this clip, if he hit his shots right from the start, he could have equalized the fight and now made this a much scarier situation. Okay, so next, this play up here, you make the correct play. I actually think this is a great play you make here with the Horizon ult because this is going to make sure that Caustic can't escape and that you can get a nice, easy kill onto him. However, what I'm also going to say that went wrong with this play and why you took so much damage is because you didn't trust or weren't confident in your ability to throw it at the correct trajectory. And what I mean by that is when you're behind that wall there, because you were unsure if you could just throw it and land it right at the door like you wanted to. So you instead had to put yourself out in the open and have a visual line of sight of where that line was going before you threw it. And this is a problem because if you're using anything like grenades, arc stars, thermites, or in this case Horizon ults, you want the most powerful thing about it is the fact that you can throw this thing without the enemy ever seeing you throw it. So, knowing your trajectory angles, how long it takes, and how far you can throw it is going to be really key. Without, like, say, hitting the top of the door, is going to be really important so that you can do the same play without taking all that damage you just did. And right here, it seemed like you were kind of a little lost. You just threw your Horizon and you're expecting them to pull right there. However, Horizon has this really cool feature where if you're aiming into the Horizon and they're pulled into it, the enemy character is actually outlined in a red outline, kind of like if they got Bloodhound scanned or if you're looking at them in a digi threat. So using that's how you can tell whether you pulled someone in and how you can then know when to shoot at the enemy. But I do the same thing quite a bit, so I can't blame you too much. Now, going beyond that, we have put ourselves in a really, really, really weird position, and one I'm not a fan of. So, we look at our health right now. Sorry, let me go full screen. I've been doing this in regular with non-full screen, I do apologize. But if you notice our health here, notice that we're at a actually really low, and we have no shields and maybe 20 health. So one was running through that caustic gas. In all situations, there really wasn't a reason to ever run through the caustic gas. It just taking unnecessary damage. But the second thing is that you're we know that they have at least one other teammate and that he's in the area right behind to your right, which if I can pull around to angle. So right here. So see how that second teammate who shot you originally is right there. Now think about when you walk out over here where we just last got to, that if he peeks out or has and sees you, then you are a very easy picking and like 20 health. He only has to hit about 2 maybe 3 shots on you and then you go down. So one, what can we do to prevent this? One, we could simply just go right back. Oh, sorry, I went a little too. Because when because we went right back to right here. You know, we didn't have to push it. We could just go right behind back to cover and heal up. You have a Phoenix kit, you have med kits, you have syringes, shield cells, whatever you need. So get behind cover and heal up, because the last thing we want to do is to make this a disadvantage fight, or if they only have one teammate, an equal fight. So so second thing, let's say we're back in this situation right there. You know, we just walked back, and you said, you know what, I'm out here, and because maybe you saw what I didn't see was that the whole area was smoked out where that guy was shooting from, but you know, you say, okay, I think it's safe for me to walk out. What can I do in this situation here? And this is where a lot of quick thinking is going to come into play. The first thing that you could have done was actually grab that armor to your left of you. We know that it's a full armor because it's in a position as if it's never been touched in the loot box. See that shotgun ammo right here? That's just thrown right there. That's ammo that has been touched and thrown there. It's not floating. It will have this little floating effect. That armor is, meaning that it's never been touched, meaning that it's guaranteed to have full health. And it's just essentially the same thing. It's a free 50 health boost right off the bat. The second thing we could have done is what we do is finish this character. However, what happens after this is what we want to talk about. So, what you want to do there is something we call an armor swap. Now, I don't know, it might be that you just got attached to your armor itself, and you know, like, I like to stick to this. You know, it's my thing. I upgraded from a gray to a purple, which I believe it was at the end. However, realistically, armors are meant to be swapped, and what you do in this situation is you just simply look at the box, and the first thing you gun for is that armor. Armor, armor, armor. And the reason we do that is because we want to get that free, in this case, at least 75 health from the enemy. He has a stronger shield than you. It's going to be full, and you don't have to waste any of your shield resources then. And it takes only about 2, maybe 2, 3 seconds if you're doing it well, or if you know, or on average. So really, in general, armor swaps are your best friend. They are a great heal source, and it's also silent to the enemy. So say the enemy knows you're pretty low, they can hear when you're popping a shield battery, which tells them, one, where you are, and two, that you're healing and in a weakened state. So if you grab an armor swap instead, you know, the enemy doesn't hear that, and now it's like, oh shoot, I wait, he got 75 health out of nowhere. I pushed him because I thought he was low and I never heard a heal. So that's also another advantage of the armor swap. Instead, we kind of just ignore the box, which is kind of a little bit of a problem because we're starting to run low on ammo, resources, and everything. So we want to be making sure that we take advantage of the box. In this order is what I usually look for boxes. Is armor, if I need it, ammo, and shields. Those are the three things I'm looking for right off the bat. That if I'm in pressured and I need to grab anything really quick, those are the three things I'm looking for. After that, if you're not in a fight or if you feel safe, that's when we can look at attachments, grenades, stuff like that. Anything, but in the media fight, you're looking for those three top priorities in the order of armor if needed, ammo, and then shields. So now let's talk about what happens here. So it's the Phoenix kit makes sense, gives you full value, though if we're not taking the armor swap. However, look how long it took you to think about that you had to heal. Remember, you've been running so you've been at this health since 47 seconds. We at 59 seconds exactly. We said 40. Yeah. So for a whole 22 seconds, you were at 20 HP. 20 seconds is a long time, and even if we say that the enemy popped a whole Phoenix kit, that gives them 10 seconds to get aggressive and potentially shoot you out and knock you with only 20 HP. Mind you, if that's not even taking account into the Phoenix kit duration, let's add another 10 seconds. 32 seconds, you are in the most vulnerable position. We want to minimize how that window, especially because luckily in this situation it's only one a team member. But if it was two team members that you're going against, they could have pushed you down, and they may have felt it was more reasonable to get aggressive. So we saw light ammo there. We kind of passed by it, and we're kind of in a weird situation. Now here, I'm not quite sure why we're using the shotgun. So at medium range, the R301 is by far the best gun. This is kind of close to medium, but this R301, this is the godsend weapon for this. So using a shotgun, even if you hit the target, at most you're maybe doing 30 damage, maybe 40 if you get some really nice shots onto them. So compared to the R301, which all you have to do is hit 3 bullets from that range, which is very easy. So we want to make sure that we're using the correct weaponry when taking these fights. Yeah, I think we kind of realize. And then, yeah. So, why have I been talking about getting ammo this entire time? Now, if we take a look here, you have 28 in the clip and 101 in ammo, making a whole total of 129 ammo. Now, on at first, it's like, oh, 4 clips, about, no, a little less than 3, or 4 clips including the one you have right now. That's a decent amount. However, if this fight goes for a longer time, say this person, is dragging it out, taking pot shots, and you go through a whole clip a couple times, now you're in a very awkward position where this ammo count is not comfortable at all, and then you have to be very selective with when you shoot, which is a situation you never want to be in. So this is a matter of just being aware of where to look and how to capitalize on this faster. So, I know you kind of were looking to the right, but if we look at our crosshair placement, you kind of just, this is fine. Though, if something I will talk about, let's place this a little higher. So you crouch here, and when you do crouch, make sure that you're adjusting for the fact that you just went downwards. If you look at where your reticle is right now, it's right on their feet here. You want to, as soon as you go down, or even when standing up, you always want to keep about chest height and chest height, because that was the one has the widest range of where you can hit a character, and 2, that can easily go into a headshot. So make sure that we're keeping it in that chest range, and that we're always lining our sights up correctly, so that as soon as the enemy does pop out, we can take advantage of that and shoot them immediately. So we kind of look to the right here, and I don't think this is the worst, because I guess we know that the enemy is in there. I didn't hear audio, but he was in there still. So I do apologize. Like I said, I just woke up. So We go and we start looking, and this is where the crosshair is important. So as soon as we start hearing shooting, actually it's not as bad as I thought because you were looking to the right. However, here, we throw grenades here. We do not want to throw grenades here. And you might be thinking, why? Because, yes, we can flush them out, but one, we know it's a 1 versus 2. And two, if you throw the grenades there, the enemy is not going to sit there and say, oh, I'm just going to take the grenade and die in this corner. No, he's going to do what he did in this situation, which is just run, where if you have your gun out, you can start shooting him immediately. But because you're throwing grenades, now we wasted 2 grenades, which you took up 2 slots for to try to kill this to try to use, and now we're just back to him getting away. Next, I think we might have just lost track a little bit, where the enemy we see just runs there. So, really, you want to make sure you're not tunnel visioning too hard, because if you look over there, he ran through the door right here. That's where it's a little blurry, but that's where he is right now. You see the door open. So it looked like you guys lost a little track. Make sure that in a fight, I know it's very hard to sometimes because you're very focused on what's happening in front of you, but you want to use your full field of vision. Now, I don't know what your FOV is, which is field of view. However, something I'll talk about later is you can increase that, and that it'll make your screen wider. It's a little bit weird at first to get used to because you're probably used to just playing on the default 70, if I'm not mistaken what it's set at. However, having it wider lets you see more things, and it helps you be more aware of your surroundings rather than just being focused on what's right in front of you. So, realize that he's not in the corner, I think. Yeah, we're just kind of looking, we're like, oh shoot. This happens to the best of us. Just make sure you don't do again what you do here, which is fall under, which I think you realize, like, oh shoot, I'm taking more damage. So, yep, we get back up. Yep. So, you could just use your Horizon Q right there, really. So, you've had, you actually used your legend out quite a bit, which I'm actually really happy to see, because what I noticed from most players is that the usage of the legend is actually what's usually, which is something they utilize. Like, they'll pick a character and then never do anything with that legend, which is actually not your problem, which I'm really happy to see. Actually, it makes it so that you're looking at, like, okay, we just have to work on the mechanical side, the gun skill, and the movement and decision making, rather than having to think about, okay, so with this legend you have to do this, this, this. I think Horizon actually fits you pretty well, all things considered. I know you talked a little bit differently. I got more of a tricky sense from you, but really, what you do with Horizon is correct throughout this video, and I think you could just expand upon further and do really well with her. So, here, I'm not quite sure why we aim now. I think first, if you thought the enemy is still there, which by now we should know that she's not. You guys cleared it out. There's no way she can really be in here. And like I said, if you're more aware of surroundings, you would saw that she ran and she's gone. So, next we see this purple armor here. We have a empty blue. There is never a reason not to take this purple. And I say this because even if the purple's empty like yours, it's still an upgrade. It's empty purple is better than an empty blue. And there's also shield cells, which you see you only have 2, which you can just take, and you can probably use that to heal up the purple if it's empty. 2, we kind of walk past it. Your teammate says, okay, I'll take it then. So once we see him take it, then our next thing is we should take our teammate's blue, because that's a full blue. Or maybe the one on the ground. I'm not sure. We didn't really check it, but that could have been a full blue as well. Look around. I think you're kind of wary of the enemy still being here, but the reason you'll see players just kind of really stop caring about their surroundings, and all of a sudden like, why can they feel so safe even if there technically should be an enemy soul around? Well, one, we know that there's only a solo at this point. We never saw a third. A third never came, so we can assume it's just a solo from that team. He's not gonna push a 1v2 or highly unlikely, and we shouldn't really be worried about that. The second thing is that you if you're looting, you should if the Bangalore just comes running right back. One, it's a Bangalore, she's very loud, but two, footsteps. Footsteps are very, very audible in this game. So even if you're not sure where they're coming from, if you hear them, then it's hey, stop looting, let's look for enemies because that means they're close by. The only thing that he could possibly come back here for is really to get his teammates banner, but that means he has to get onto the high ground, and it's gonna make a lot of noise in order for that to happen. So instead, we kind of use a shield battery here. And mind you, once again, we've talked about this before, but notice how long you've been unhealed for and could have been easily sniped by. But secondly, we could have just grabbed one of those shields and saved a whole shield battery. And shield batteries are super valuable. Anyways, we get here, and let's look at this. One, we have 2 full blue evos. But still, a swap should still occur. Why? Because this one has 179 closer to purple, and yours has 286. It's just 100 less damage that you need in order to get purple, which could be the difference between winning and losing or surviving a fight. Fortunately, no light ammo. Take a thermite, take a phoenix kit, and then we skipped over these 3 things. So, first of all, shield batteries are probably the most important form of shield that you should always be taking. One, at worst, let's say you have great shield, they have shield batteries, it's just like having a stack of cells. Whatever. But even then, it's still equal. Then we have the blue armor. Having 2 shield batteries is like having 6 cells in 1 stack compared to 6 cells in 2 stacks. With 2 batteries on purple armor, now 8 cells. Red armor, 10 cells. And the other key difference in when this happens is that not only is it more value, it's also shorter duration. When you use 3 cells on a blue shield, you have to take 7.5 seconds. A shield battery is only 5 seconds versus 10 seconds for cells on a purple and 5 on a battery. So battery is always going to be really good and always better than cells. So we want to take as many of those as we can. Not as many. I take 4, sometimes 6 if I have a really good backpack. But with a blue, we should be taking all 3 because 1, we already have 1, meaning that 1 will only take extra slot, and then you'll have another 2, which will nicely only take 1 more slot, and you could take another grenade, more med kit, another med kit maybe I don't know if you have 2 or 1, and then you can also take a lot more light ammo, which you are in desperate need of right now. We don't really need that sight for the EVA because it shouldn't be using long range. I would probably take the 1 sight or just keep it without no sight, really. But, that's just personal preference. Whatever you want, in that situation, go for it. So we need to be taking that light ammo that you just ran past by. And this is what I talk with the players a lot. And what I've noticed when I play with new players in general is that they seem kind of lost. They kind of like, they kind of get, they finish a fight and then they're like, what did I do? They're like, I want to play safe, but I'm just kind of confused what I should do here. What is the best play from here on? Now, I can tell you now, normally, it depends on what you're playing and what your objective is. So, if we're playing to just win, and we don't care about how many kills we get, we just care about winning, I would say we want to rotate into ring, which means getting a good spot into the ring and safely was the best route to do that. And we also want to be grabbing as much ammo and shields for the end game because we need to be prepared for a long-term fight, especially when it's only one other team or maybe 2 teams. You need as many shields as you can to prepare for that fight. So I'm gonna fast forward this a little bit.
Extended light mag here.
So, like I talked about earlier, you kind of want to be knowing what you're looking for because instead of having to pull up the inventory like that and looking, you could just spam square on items and pick up whatever you need. Also, my policy when it comes to looting is grab items now, figure out how your inventory is later. Because if you stop to look at your inventory at first and then decide whether you need it or not, that's gonna take a lot more time. It simply takes, opening your inventory, looking, okay, no, not take, or yes, take. Going out for every item is going to take a lot longer than if you just say, grab, 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 grab. Okay, let me look at my inventory. I don't need you. I don't need you. I don't need you. Buy, buy, buy. Just drop it. That's a lot quicker to just do one menuing, one menu option versus 3, 4 more times. So we don't really need a shotgun ammo. You already had 32 or close to it. 30, 46, 48 is not necessarily, and it's taking up a lot more slots than you're going to need. So I guess in this game it proves that you need it because you didn't replenish your light ammo. However, in general, we don't need to. So, next play we're going to talk about.
45 seconds.
Yeah, your teammate's like, oh, pop a syringe. Now, what you should have done, and what your teammate was trying to suggest, was pop 2 syringes here. Now, you might be thinking, well, that doesn't give me full value. I'm only missing like 5 health. However, or 5 to maybe like 7 health. However, that health can make the biggest difference. And syringes are only gonna matter after you kill a team or in the storm. There's nothing worse than dying because you weren't full health and they did 168 when you could have won or survived the storm if you had that 7 extra health. Absolutely the worst feeling. And to do that because you're greedy for a single syringe, which are common and you can find almost anywhere, is something that you don't want to happen to you, and it's a bad habit that I see a lot of players, and it happens to myself. You get greedy. You're like, I want to maximize my usage, but sometimes living is more important than maximum effect. Oh, yep, we see an enemy up there. Kind of comes up there. Yep. So, here. I kind of get why you guys defend here, and I'm going to let this play a little bit forward, and I'm going to explain why you guys don't necessarily need to, and why I say it's important to actually move ahead. And move ahead faster and earlier. Yep, so you see them, they're running. So, now, we don't actually need to be watching here. And you might be thinking, well, someone could come behind us, there's 8 squads still, why do I need to watch behind me? So, the reason you don't need to watch behind you is simply because of how the ring is placed here. So, if we look over here, we see this ring coming in from here. It just started, so it's a little further out, but really was right at the edge of Harvester. Meaning, one, that ring's been there for the past minute or so, and no one should be coming through here. No enemies should be coming through this rotation here. Doesn't make sense. So, 2, what if they come from over here then? Well, if they come from over here, they're most likely just going to cross this little narrow passage here. So they can get to the ring right over here. Well, we'll go right on to over there. Or, better yet, they're most likely just take the outside route right above here and go through the downward hill into this same village, or even go all the way to Geyser. And knowing the map and looking at your map is really going to help you make decisions of why people should be where they are, or most likely should be where they are, and whether you're going to need to be spending your time in a certain area or looking somewhere. I just think this is really creative. Now, another thing I'm going to say with Horizon, and something that you want to get used to, is that you spend a lot of time, we want to work on fluidity. And what I mean by that is, if we go back, I'm going to take it to one time so that we can really see. So, notice how first of all, before I get into fluidity, I just want to say I love your pings. Your pings are fantastic. I love how you use the different ones. I love how to effectively communicate to your teammate without using a mic. Hey, this is what I want to do. Now, I wish that I think the mic is the best way to communicate with any teammate. It's consistent and it gets exactly what you want to say to the opponent. But I get it, sometimes you don't want to talk, or you don't have a mic, or whatever the case is, you don't want to talk. I completely get that. However, the other thing I'm going to say about your pings is that we want to make sure we're very comfortable with what ping does what. And what I mean by that is we want to know what the pings do offhand. So, For example, you say, I'm watching right over here. I'm defending over here. What you're often doing is you have to stop for a second, hold down, and you're like, and then you have to look at the whole wheelway. Like, okay, this is the ping I want to use. We want to, for I'm looking over here. I know from memory that it's to the far, like to the straight left that I'm watching over here. So you want to hold down R1 and hit your right stick to the left instantly, so that you can drop that ping right away. That just saves you more time in case you need to communicate right away that, hey, there, I need you to I need to watch over here right now, ASAP. Or if in the case later on where you use the attacking ping or the I can't ping, you don't want him to just go on his own before you could get that ping off, right? The second thing, fluidity. Now, it doesn't look as bad, but we want to make sure that let's know our trajectories of our tactical and our ultimate, because instead of having to spend time to look down and throw, especially in controller because it's slower with our sensitivity, we have to make sure but if you know the trajectory from farther away, you could just throw your tactical and it would have landed, and you could have just walked up to it right away instead of having to stop, throw, then go up. It's little things like that where it doesn't seem like much, but in the middle of a fight, or maybe just to catch that enemy right at that perfect time, doing it as fast as possible is going to give you that opportunity to do so. That being said, I actually really like this spot. It's a really cool spot. A lot of enemies are not going to be looking up here, and you're going to catch a lot of people off surprise. But like I said, see, this is the little hill I'm talking about, where this is the only way that they should be coming from. Maybe if they came from down here, they'll rotate through the train, or over here, which is much more likely. Either way, no enemy should be coming here, or if they come through there, they're going there. So you have no reason to ever be looking behind you, and instead should be looking at how you're going to get into the ring safely. Or speed this back up. So, I actually really like this idea. I think you had a really cool idea, actually. And something I like that you planned. You're like, okay, I'm Horizon, and you're like, I'm gonna use my tactical here, and we can take that high ground. Now, unfortunately, remember I've been talking about, hey, let's get to we want to rotate faster, and we want to move faster in general in order to be able to catch opportunities that we might miss. This is one of those opportunities that I talk about, is because if you got here 5 seconds earlier, maybe 10 seconds, you could have controlled this little, what I call the donut building, which is this one that you're looking at. Instead, the enemy got there first, and now you can't take that, and you have to settle with low ground, which is much more vulnerable compared to just being up there. Now, another benefit that you don't realize right off the bat with this is that if you go up there and you have that position, a team that's zipping up right there is in a terrible spot. Because one, they have to run over here, which it seems like they don't want to, or two, they come up to zip right into your face, and on a zip line, they are very vulnerable and easy shots. Instead, we see the enemies up there, and now we have to settle with low ground. We actually see one just fall down, so you want to be careful there. See, we kind of see one fall down there. Now your enemies weren't looking around, but a more aware enemy is going to notice you on this low ground. They're going to hear your footsteps. They're going to hear that enemy might see one just looking towards his teammates. You gotta be really careful here, and if you're gonna play defensively, we want to make sure that we're aware of what the enemy can see too, and not just what we see. Now we know they're above.
Spotted an enemy over there.
So be careful, because your footsteps could have been heard here, and they could be pinging right now. Hey, I got enemy below us, and that could have been very dangerous. But we heard that he used the other zip. That's the guy that you saw fell down. So, yep, we're moving up. Opening that pill is very dangerous, very, very, very dangerous, because opening that supply bin is a very clear indication that enemies are nearby them, and that if they hear that, Well, the only one that I would know off the top of my head is low ground. That means there's enemies here, and this position here is way, 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 way stronger, or even above you, is way stronger than being down here. And you're easy shots, and it's most likely that you'll die if they push this fight onto you right now. And just, yeah, I like like I said, I love the pings, but you don't want to be watching there. They're gonna win that. That's a very good fight for the enemy. Do not. This is not what you want to be in, right here. You're so. I would have grabbed that shield battery because you need one still, and I would have I would get below them as soon as possible, which is what you guys do.
I'm going there too.
Yep, we see that. You see the horizon Q. They got one up there, and yep, we see them. Good job, you're not taking shots. I know a lot of players take those shots, and that's gonna put you in the worst position that you want to be in. I'm not quite sure what you're looking up over here for. Maybe the care package, but you know, this is where another thing that a lot of players don't think about is you want to have a purpose in where you're looking and what you're doing at all times. And in this situation, you'd be like, well, I want to play safe. I want to hide under here. What can I be doing? Let's start looking at positions where enemies can be. You want to look over here. You want to look over here. Maybe you want to look at your map now. This is a great time to look at your map and figure out where can I go and what's the best spot to be in right now. And so, these are things that you want to be taking the time to. Just visually looking around and looking at your map are great things you could do in situations like these. I'm not quite sure why you just being this respawn beacon. I love that you can't, because that's a very risky play. If you guys go up there, you guys are in a bit of trouble, really, because they're gonna be like, okay, time to kill, just free kills onto you. So not going up there. I think that was the team that rotated out, but I do like that because we're not 100% sure.
No thanks.
So we hear some fighting to our northeast, which means those are two teams over there. We also heard shooting to the south, actually, southwest maybe too. So we know where at least 4 other teams are. 5, meaning that we only cannot account for 2 right now. One squad goes down, meaning now we only can account for 3.
The ring's our neighbor, pals, and we've got about a minute to find her.
So we're kind of just playing slow at the moment. We see good. Oh, you just ping him out. Now we're just chilling here, and I'm not the biggest fan of this position. Now you might be saying, "Oh, it covers me from up here," and I get that point. However, if anyone comes from over here, or if they're on the other side, you are in the very open with no cover whatsoever. So you kind of want to be a little bit careful where you guys are. And you heard them. I remember hearing these footsteps. Good. This is a good adjustment though. That when you hear those footsteps right over there, that you're like, make sure that they have no angles for you. Now, I'm gonna bring up a term right now called absolutes. Absolutes are basically things that no matter what they do, the same result is always going to be the case. So, when you peek out of cover, they may or may not miss shots. If they shoot you behind cover, they cannot hit you no matter what they do. The only thing that can work is a grenade, but that's part of the absolute. Only a grenade will work in this situation. So being aware of that is how you can help make decisions of, I don't want to take damage right now. I don't want them to see me. I'm going to play around this absolute, which is the cover that they cannot see me if I stay here, unless they jump down, which is they don't want to do. Because then they take the fall stun, and you can get easy shots onto them.
I'm going to watch you.
So we play more around that cover. Good stuff. I believe we get to a moment soon. We're kind of just looking around. We just hear those shooting above. We hear the shooting over there. And we're kind of looking over there now, which I think is good. You try and get more visual information and try to figure out what's happening around you. So right now, you guys should be looking full to your left here because we hear this team. If you listen to the footsteps, we can hear them starting to move to the left. And now the only way they can move left, and in this case forward, is if they're running downhill. And this is just knowing the map and knowing your surroundings around you. The other thing I want to talk about is I'm not sure if you have headphones, but headphones are the best investment you can ever make in any first-person shooter, especially in this one, but in any really in general. Having headset lets you hear not only which side they are coming from, which is left or right. TVs can do that, but the second part that's really important that TVs can't do is what other directions are moving they are relative to you, whether they're in front of you or behind you, or how far to the left or how far to the right. These are things that headphones provide and lets you accurately depict where the enemy can be without having to hear, without actually ever seeing where the enemy is. The second thing that you want to be listening for in footsteps is a type of terrain. Now, Apex is really cool because depending on what type of terrain you're on, your footsteps will actually change. So, let's say you're running on dirt, you're gonna hear a gravelly, crunchy sound when they're running on dirt. Now, if you're running on steel, you hear that ding, 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 ding as you're running on top of it. You also hear what type of character because different characters have different types of footstep sounds. Or you might hear them running on water, which makes that a splash noise when they're running. This is all information you can use to figure out where they are based on knowing the terrain of where terrain is on the map and what it looks like and where they're probably going based on where you hear them, how you hear them.
We got a bad guy close.
I heard you.
So we see enemy here, and I'm gonna slow down here because it's little information like this that you have to be really aware of, and helps you make this decisions later on. So we see this right here, and notice how she starts slowing down here. She was just running full speed, and she all of a sudden slowed down. Meaning, what she's gonna do? She's gonna phase like that. Now, why is this important? You might be thinking, oh, I was just looking at the enemy and she just seemed to phase randomly. However, what actually happened was her passive activate, which is someone's got shots on you. So as soon as she saw that, she said, oh, I'm going to phase. I don't want to take any damage. Now, one, that's a good play on her because now you can't shoot her if you were going to take shots. But two, what this also tells is that someone, when they ran from here, her passive didn't activate. It's as soon as she ran right here that her passive all of a sudden went off. So that means the enemy knows somewhere from over, whether it's over here where you guys are or on the high ground back by the donut building is where, or the jungle gymnasium as I like to call the other spots over here, is where they are. So oh, actually, no, you can't be over there based on the ring. So they know you're pretty much right in this spot. And this is something you have to be aware of now being, oh, shoot, they know that we aimed at them and that we have to be wary that they're gonna start looking to shoot at us. So, we start. Let me go back a little bit. Sorry, I apologize. So we see enemies climbing on top, and we start getting shot at. That's because, like I said, they knew based on them being aimed at. So realize it's a losing fight. I would not run at them like this. We realize that we're actually in a losing position because they have doors to play with, they have cover, they have high ground. There's a lot of things going in their favor. By running at them, this just makes their shot that much easier, and running a straight line is the easiest shot you can give a player. So, I think in this situation, if I'm not mistaken, you threw this ultimate because you just wanted to keep them there and they didn't chase you. Which is fine, but the only other thing I would say is one, I believe that it led off a way too short. The other thing is that really, they're not, in this situation, they're not going to push you because unless you see them running outside the building, they're not going to push you in this situation because they have such a good building. And if you look at where the next ring's going to be, why would they give up? Why would they push you and potentially get ousted by a team that may be in here already just to push this team here? Doesn't make sense for them, and they're just probably going to keep their good position. So I'm gonna take the time here now. I've been looking for this time. I kept forgetting, sorry, to bring it up. But let's talk about slide jumps. So slide jumps are a great way to gain mobility and over a short term and eventually the long term if you consistently do them. Now, most of this match, I think you did 4 so far, maybe 5 if I'm I slide jumps, but you definitely want to be doing more. And the reason is because one slide jump gets you a little extra distance, but chaining 10, 20, a bunch of them in a row is going to get you meters upon meters of distance faster, which allows you to get to those fights or good positions in a much more in a better time, which may catch enemies off guard because most of the time they wouldn't expect someone to reach it there quickly. So, and it also may get you behind cover in time where in other situations you would have died because, oh shoot, I was just running and I couldn't get there. It's an absolute. Also, sliding makes your hitbox shorter. Going to a jump makes it hard. May make it harder for the enemy to hit you. All reasons why that they'll miss bullets and gives you a better chance to survive. Now, the other thing that I'm going to talk about here is let's look at your health right now. What you're effectively at is about 115 health. Why? Because if we look at, you have 25 from cells and you have about 95. So maybe 120, my bad. So we want to be, right now you are in a very, very scary situation. You have about 120 health, my bad. And most enemies are going to have 200 or maybe 225 health when you fight them. By not healing up right away and making sure that you're at your 175, you put yourself at half the health that your opponent is at. It's a situation you do not want to be in. You have 2 cells, which is the perfect time to use them right now.
The ring's close,
So
and we've
right
got
here
a
we've
whole
seen kind of
minute
lost,
to
which is
dawdle.
kind of walking. We don't want, I'm kind of confused why. You see an enemy. I didn't even see him, but good call out. Take good shots at him. After crack his armor, great, nice shot, pretty good shots there actually. All things considered. Now I'm actually really love this play that you make next. So in all reality, you could have pushed him there, and you probably could have gotten a good fight. But actually, you make the smarter decision here, and you take the high ground with Horizon's Q. This was your best play this match by far. This was such a beautiful play because now, when you fight these next enemies, you have the best position against 2 enemies, and this gives you 1 versus 2 potential, while also keeping you very safe. So, great Horizon Q. I think you could also do this low way if you just threw your teleport up there, but I think Horizon, from what I've seen so far, fits you so well. And I think you should, I would really recommend you using this legend more.
I think we could all use a pick-me-up.
So we hear enemies, and I almost forgot to bring it up because I was just kind of distracted for a little bit, but this is where I'm talking about why I brought up footsteps earlier, because we know that the only place the enemy could be right now is below you, right below you here. We hear them to the left, and we look to the left, actually. Look how no one's here right now. Right all in this right open space. But we hear them really close, and to our left, like right here. So if they're not here, that means they have to be right below, and you could just peek out a little bit further, look down, and you could have got some nice shots out of them. But that's fine. So, right here. This is what I'm talking about. Great, why your positioning will pay off for you. Now, I say positioning, the word positioning a lot. And what is positioning? I think this was like, and you might be, well, clearly it's where you put yourself. But when people say you have great positioning or bad positioning, I want to define it as what your place is relative to the opponents. And so that means that where you are relative to your opponents, you are great. When you peek out, you have almost full line of sight of the opponent here, and if you just back up, they can't do anything to shoot you. So this is what it means to have great positioning, where when you want to fight, you have great angles on them, and when you don't want to fight, they can't shoot back at you or push you as easily. So keep that in mind. That is when I mean that you have good or bad positioning. So we get back. Let's go back a little bit and approach this fight again. So this is where our crosshair placement is really important. We really just want to be more aware of what we're aiming at and when and why we're aiming at them. So this is the angle. So let's talk about right here. This was actually a really scary situation, and one I want to actually evaluate a little closer than you would initially think about. So we have two enemies here. We have one right here, and we have one right here. This is something, this is where we want to use our great positioning to its full advantage. Now, in this situation, you decide to just take the first target you saw, which was right here, and take shots, which is fine. You know, you got a great angle on him, and at first glance, it seems like, what's wrong with that? The problem is you have this opponent right here. Now, if this person decides to look up as soon as you shoot at him, he has a really clean shot at you, especially when you stand still to shoot at this guy. This is, you don't want to, when you shoot, if you shoot at him and you're just standing still like you did, she could be like, oh, and because you only have 120 health, it's very likely that you'll die from one clip, giving you no time to heal, and you're gonna die up here. And now Revenant is in a 1 versus 2 with not the greatest health himself. Instead, what we wanted to do was actually something I'll explain in the fighting range, which is you wanted to back up and go left here. So all you had to do was back up a little bit and move to the left. Now, what does that change? It doesn't sound like it changes much, but it changes everything. When you back up and go left, you block this guy from having any chance of shooting at you. An absolute. There is no way he can shoot you when you're back and left. However, you have a clean shot onto this person here. And she doesn't have much cover. The only place she can go is right there. So if you back up and go left and you shoot at her, then all of a sudden you have the best position against her. You can easily back up if you're all of a sudden in an uncomfortable situation against her, and she has no cover, giving you easy shots to knock her down and make it so that he can never ever kill you in return. But we get some shots on him, almost crack his armor, back up. And then you do a great, I love this play, great use of grenades. Something I actually don't do enough myself, but you use great grenades here. So, except we're going to judge the art style that happens after this a little bit. But look, first one, great. Second one, great. This puts her in this perpetual bounce of, I don't want to go that way. I don't want to go, oh, let me go the other way. Oh, shoot, no, I don't want to go that way. I think she's lost where you are, personally. So these thermites can really mess her up. Now, the third thing, though, is you throw this arc star. Now, you throw it right there. You actually don't want to throw it there. In fact, you want to throw it where she's running right now. And you might be saying, well, this just blocked her off and push her right back into thermites. Isn't that more damage? Yes, but that may not get you the kill. So, let's talk about when you throw it here. If she runs here, if she gets behind this cover right here, you actually can't shoot her. And then, since she has gold armor, she could pop a cell and has 50 more health. And then she's close to, actually you're relatively close. If not, she has the advantage of health on you soon when she pops that shield cell. So instead, if you throw and that's not a situation you want to be in. Luckily, when she panics, she gets over here and really gives herself for the free kill. But if you throw the arc star right here, now first of all, she's running this way. She's still probably gonna run that way a little bit. She sees the arc star, realizes she can't go there anymore, runs back to the thermite, and now is gonna be in the open. Right? If you look over here, this is just free shots. You just hit your shots on her. She has no cover, and she dies there. It's a much more consistent way of killing her over the chance that she gets some crazy heal and play off. See, she goes out in the open, but she just moved over here instead. She would have blocked line of sight from both of you most likely, and you would either have to gave up your high ground on her, or she could have healed up. Get a knock on her though, and then you see you're looking for the second opponent. And I think this is fine. I don't know where that second guy went personally, but it seems like he went over here. And yeah, this is where you would just want to use shotgun. Just shoot your shotgun. There's no need to get cute. So now here, this is another reason you have to be right here. You have to be taking her armor, and you have to be taking her cells, shield batteries, whatever the case is, and check if she has light ammo. You chest round ammo for your R301, your starting to now gonna probably run. You're starting to use a lot of your shotgun ammo now because it's your only gun, and you are low on health still. You only have 120 health still. Not the ideal situation you want to be in. So take your armor, take your ammo, take your shields. And in this situation, let's say all of a sudden, hey, she doesn't have light ammo. She only had heavy and shotgun. Take her heavy weapon, take her heavy ammo, and then try to take her attachments before you get caught by the ring. Even if you take a little ring damage, you could always just simply use a med kit. It doesn't really matter. But having ammo and a second gun and a long range gun to use is going to be crucial in order to for these next fights, instead of having to be in the position that you were in later on. Luckily, the guy comes from behind you, shoots you, and let's say in that situation you were grabbed the armor swap. You might have taken that damage still, but now you still have shields and you wouldn't be on health. Instead, let's say that Octane didn't miss those next 2 shots on you and you hit them. At the health you were at, you would have got 2 shot by the wingman, and then you would have gone down, and in the storm you're gonna die. These are the situations, you look at the wins, you're like, oh, I didn't die, but however, you gotta think, what if he does land? What if he actually executes it correctly? You gotta think in those terms, and how you can counteract that. And one of those ways is an armor swap and adjusting your loadout and getting more shields. Goes down the storm, kill him, nice, and you keep running.
Reloading. Only 2 more squads. He'll feel my pull soon enough.
Anyone else wielding the unfathomable cosmic power of a singularity?
Let's shift our orbits that way. Go in here. And up.
Okay, we get over here, and once again, we're kind of. First of all, you didn't need to pop a medkit there. Medkit didn't really serve any purpose. It was just like a single syringe solves that. And secondly, look how long we've been on 1 shield, eventually into 0 shield. Let's go back all the way. We're at 1208. You have full shield here? 1208. 1208. 1013. You were on 1 shield for the whole 2 minutes. That is a very, 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 very dangerous situation. I said very a lot, but I really want to emphasize why healing immediately and not putting yourself in such a dangerous position is going to be key. So we do heal up eventually. Now, the only problem is because you haven't been looting, you haven't been grabbing those resources shields, you only have 2 shield cells left. And this, if the fight goes long enough, this could be very dangerous. Anyways, you realize you have no light ammo. You unfortunately don't have light ammo. He drops you some light ammo, luckily, but you should be looting this and getting, making sure that you have enough for these next fights, instead of having to do what you'll eventually have to do.
I'm gonna attack there. Rings closing and
Sorry, I mean just be really fit. Okay, let's continue. So, another thing here, make sure that we're, like, knowing your terrain and where you're going, because it took you a while to figure out, oh, I entered through here, but yeah, you get a good kill, knock him down, so, and he goes down. Now, right here, you just need to loot. You really need to be looting here, looking for what he has, switching weapons if necessary, and taking armor and shields. We've talked about this a lot, and we have explained it a lot. I'm gonna sound like a broken radio. So you throw to the right ball. You kind of throw yours back in kind of response, but we know he's farther down the hallway. That horizon ult really doesn't do much so we want to save that. We can save that for later if they sit in that corner and you want to pull them out. Also, destroy that horizon ult, because if you get pulled from that, you don't want to get in this weird situation. So, trying to shoot this shotgun kind of blindly. Horizon Q really didn't serve the purpose there. Like, you didn't need the cover. You already had the horizon ult already blocking their vision. So, didn't really do much. They're not going to push you up, especially because it seems like you have one down teammate. pushing off things like suicide mission. Right now, what you should be, what I would recommend is actually not push up here. You should be looking behind you, grabbing a new armor or shields to heal up your current one if all the other ones are broken. So that's what we want to be doing, because you're putting yourself in a risky position. If he hits those shots, and you're just gonna go down very fast. Go with the Phoenix kit, get that off. Kill that knock, which is good because you just don't want anything weird to happen. So we know that last guy's there. Take some damage. Make sure you're shield swapping. You're getting very low. You should go to the opponent's box right now. I think that's actually pretty good. What you should do with this is, instead of just sitting there, what you should do is just throw that, look at the box of the person you just killed, and take that person's armor. And now, the reason why taking that light ammo was important is because you're down to 7 shotgun ammo. Remember how you took 3 stacks? You should almost never need 3 stacks, but because it's your only gun, you've just been kind of shooting that, which at that range is not optimal and wasted a lot of ammo. So now you're in a very precarious position where you need to be looting. There should be no thought about shooting this guy. You need loot of armor, ammo, shields.
Here's a pick-me-up.
Luckily, he's pushed to a corner. He can't get out without taking too much storm. He goes, throws that. You hit some decent shots there, and you kill him. So yeah, overall, we have a lot of things we can work on and talk about. And you actually did them really well compared to your teammate here. 1,200 damage and 6 kills. Nice job. Now, before I end this, I'm just gonna go over a quick of the few things that I was talking about earlier. So, if we go into here, I don't know why it says my name's that. That's not what my name is. Fire range is a little bugged in that, but let's go over to controller. So, first, a couple things. One, let's go over button layout. I'm guessing you most likely have default. However, I would recommend going to button puncher. Button puncher simply changes your melee and your crouch buttons, as you can see right here. Now, if you have it, and the reason that's useful is because to be able to crouch and to aim at the same time is really helpful. Also, it's much more comfortable to slide and crouch with just pressing down the R3 button instead of pressing the O button. Because then, in order to do that, you have to move your thumb off your analog to crouch, instead of just having it on there where I can do this any day of the week. I don't know why, it just feels a little input laggy right now. Okay, besides that. Next thing I want to go over is, if we go back over here, 2 things I want to talk about more are menu cursor speed. This is how you move around this faster by using this. You'll see that even I don't have it all the way. Some players prefer really high, but just increasing it from the base default of really low will help you grab those armors and whatever you need a lot faster and more safely. And the third thing we're going to look in the controller option is the look sensitivity. If you have it on default, I know some players like that, but I think high sensitivity, at least increasing it or looking to maybe mess around with this, is important. That way you can look around and you can keep up with the enemies moving, because sometimes it felt like you were lagging behind trying to aim at them. Having a higher sensitivity will kind of solve that, though it does take an adjustment because you might overshoot your enemies sometimes. But this is an option you may want to look into. Finally, let's look at gameplay options. First, you'll notice I keep auto sprint on. This is a personal preference, but I think auto sprint is, 1, saves the wear and tear on your controller, and 2, makes it so that it's really, most times you want to be sprinting over just walking. Unless you have a reason to want that 5 movement, you should really overall just always be using auto sprint. Secondly, I'm going to talk about is, if I can ever find it, take damage closes death box menu. I would recommend turning this off, because say all those times I've been talking about those armor swaps in those boxes, you want to be able to, even if you take a little bit of damage while trying to do it, you want to be able to grab those armors and not get kicked out automatically when you take shots. So I would recommend turning that off, and all you have to do then is, if you take damage, just hit O really fast when you grab the armor, and then you can fight again. So I think that's everything for the settings part. And remember, last thing I wanted to talk about two last things I want to talk about is one, going to the firing range. Firing range is a great way that you can practice, your recoils and make sure that you really master them and practicing your movement options. So that was a little sloppy because it was kind of going up and down, but overall I'm able to keep it on target because I know the recoil pattern, and this helped me warm up. If you saw when I first shot, I was like, blah, blah, blah. By the end, I've practiced this game a lot, so doing stuff like that, it just comes from a lot of practice. But let's take your R301 for example. So something I want to show you here is that your R301 has a very consistent recoil. This is me. I'm going to shoot without holding the right analogs. Like, mean, if I was just not holding down anything. So it goes pretty straight up, which is overall, which it makes sense. And then you'll notice it does a little question mark and then pops back to the right. So how do we counteract that? Well, personally, I like to hold down slight left. It makes it just in my head, it makes more sense and keeps this straight, because it strays a little bit like this. You can hold straight down, it still does effectively the same thing. But next, how do we counteract that question mark? Well, first, let's think about it. We gotta make sure we're still holding down because it is still going up. However, next, it starts going to the right, and it then eventually goes up, forward, and then to the left. So, what we have to do is we have to start making a U downwards and left, like this. And then eventually we'll get to a straight downward, just holding straight down, and then we'll eventually start holding right, which will counteract this portion right here. Finally, we go back to holding left because it goes from here to the left to there. And what this should look like instead is this. Oh, that's bad. Sorry. Sometimes my now, not the prettiest I've done, but you'll see how this is much tighter compared to this right here. Now let's see if I just held straight down. Now right here it's fine, but notice how this starts to go off target. And mind you, I'm pretty sure I start right here, and it goes neo, and then neo, and then neo. You're gonna miss a lot more shots than if it just keeps in this general bubble. And to prove that, so knowing how to do that is gonna be really helpful, and practice that in the firing range is gonna be really helpful. And you could do that with any gun. Just simply turn the impact marks on, and you'll be able to see that. Finally, let's talk about slide jumps. Slide jumps are something you can do with almost any character, and really what you want to be doing is constantly chaining slide jumps. So really, there's a maximum speed that your sprint gets into, and then you simply slide and jump. And why do we do this? You do this because sliding is faster than just walking. Notice how long it's taking me just to walk all the way back here compared to doing all those slide jumps. Now, what makes that different? Well, when you slide, look, you move fast, but quickly you'll notice that we slow down and eventually come to this halt, and we move really slow when we crouch. Not good. So, and jumping, it has an interesting property that it carries your momentum of how you were moving before. So, if I just jump and don't move anything, I stand still. If I jump and then try to move, I move really slow because I have no momentum. If I move forward and jump, I move pretty well. So, if now we do that out of a slide, we carry that slide momentum, which is faster than just running, and carry that until we hit the end of the jump. Now, if you do that right, I even messed up at the end because I didn't get to full speed when I went for the slide. But so you see how by doing those slide jumps, you really get a lot more momentum, and chaining them is going to get you a lot farther, a lot quicker, overall. Alright, so that's going to be the end for this VOD. I don't know how long the recording is, but I think this is a little more condensed and gives a much more direct feedback to what I was seeing earlier. And I hope this is helpful. Any questions, let me know. I can start trying to get started on the second one, but for now, I'm going to take a little break. This should be my first VOD review. Alright, thank you so much.